Hello, babies. You guys are tuned in to the Crissy O Show, live on Jam City America Radio, jamcityamerica.net. Wednesday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Thursday mornings. Be sure to tune in. Go get the free cell phone app. Bluetooth me through your vehiculars and any other type of web streaming device that you have. Got an awesome show coming up for you guys tonight. We've got the awesome guitarist Stuart Alexander. That interview is coming up right about now. So get your coffee, get ready, because here we go, babies. It's on. You guys are tuned in to the Crissy O Show live on Jam City America Radio, jamcityamerica.net. As promised, you guys, I have the awesome Stuart Alexander in the house today. How you doing, Stuart?
Doing great. Good to be here with you.
I'm so glad you came in today. I want to start off a little bit about your YouTube and your guitar playing skills, because I heard through the grapevine that you play guitar very well. And then I saw you.
It's a vicious rumor.
It's a vicious rumor. Okay. So then I heard that you have all these awesome hits off of your videos. So let's talk about that first, and then we'll give a little bit of backstory about who Stuart Alexander is.
Kind of how that happened. It was, as we were discussing a little before the show, it was totally by accident. And like a lot of us, our guitar players, we get in a bunch of these different guitar player pages on Facebook, right? I didn't have a YouTube channel or anything. So after being in several of them for a while, I don't even remember what gave me the idea to do it, but I decided to do one video, just real quick, 6-7 minutes, just to show a little technique with bar chords. Just one little technique, kind of how to extend, how to, reach across more frets when you have stubby little fingers like I've shown you.
Yeah.
Very short hands.
And like chick fingers like me.
Yeah, but we compare, your fingers and mine are the same length, right?
Crazy.
I mean, very short fingers. So anyway, I shared that. Well, that was kind of a hit, and people really liked it. A lot.
Course.
It got a lot of good feedback.
I liked it too, because I actually learned from it. I was like, oh, I've been doing it wrong all along for me. And then I was like, okay, the positioning of your hand just made it, oh, okay, well, duh. Why didn't I think of that? I didn't, but it was cool.
Yeah, well, that first one, what was interesting too, is I did that one, and I was sort of presuming a level of knowledge among the people that would be seeing it. That, they'll know this, And I started getting messages, and you were saying, no, I've never seen this before. Can you kind of expand on that a bit? And I was like, oh, wow. So I realized I needed to kind of take a step back. And so I did another one, which I think was actually the best one I've ever done.
Yeah, that was
I really liked that.
cool.
I called it the movable E thing.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get fancy with the terminology or anything. It's all meat and no potatoes because, as we talked about before, I have no training at all. None.
Which is amazing to me. But that's you have a awesome gift. You have an awesome talent, which just blows me away, because I'm like, there's people who've had 30, 40 years of training or whatever, and they still can't pull off what you did in the video. I'm like, I'm sending this to some of my friends.
Yeah, that's actually one of the more gratifying things about it. I like it when the beginners. There's a lot of beginner to intermediate guitarists that they'll send me messages and they'll say, oh man, this is great. It got me over a hump. And one guy on there, he's just great. He's an older guy, and he had some injuries. I don't know if it was from an accident or what it's from, but a super nice fella.
Yeah.
And he can't even type messages. He uses a microphone because he can't really type too well right now. But he wanted to get back into guitar, and he was afraid to. And when he saw my first couple videos, he said that inspired him to pick up guitar again. And it's coming back. He said it's coming back. After many, many years.
But that's great, though, because it's all muscle memory.
It is.
And it's what you know and what your fingers know how to do, which is really cool. And what I liked about your videos was not only was it inspiring, but there was nothing negative about it. It wasn't, showcasey, show off. Hey, look at me, I can play this and blah, blah, blah. It was like, if I can do it, you can do it, which is a great can-do attitude, because I really think that there's a lot of people that are around that are musical, but they're scared. They're scared to try. So
I'm glad you said that. That's it. That's it. They get intimidated.
They do.
And especially they see well, it's old hat now, but when I was coming up, it was a long time ago. And then the first time I heard Eddie Van Halen,
Oh my gosh, yes.
I thought, is this guy from Mars? What the hell am I
I
hearing?
know,
And
right?
I wanted to hang this thing up. I didn't. It's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
No more for
And
me.
a lot of people felt that way because
Yeah.
it was very intimidating. And then very quickly it evolved into, well, if you don't play like that, if you don't do the tapping, if you're not doing these things,
Right.
sweep picking and on, then, you suck. Well,
Yeah.
that's nonsense. That's a
Exactly.
lie. I still don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'll play with it every now and then. But I didn't come up in that school of music. It's not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy watching people do it, for a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's intimidating.
It
and I
is.
think that's one of the problems. People say, well, I have to play like that. I have to sound like Yngwie, or I have to sound like Petrucci, or whoever.
Yeah.
I have to be able to do that to be a guitar player. And that's a lie. That's simply not
You
true.
don't have to. And it's like, we were talking about it earlier, with instructional videos, whether you teach or you don't, whether you're educated or not, it doesn't matter. The point is how do you know if you don't try it?
Yeah.
You don't know what you're capable of doing. And quit being a copycat. Be yourself. Be the musician that you're supposed to be.
Amen.
I don't expect you to be anybody else but Stuart Alexander and play what you do and play what you do. You do it very well, which is
That's
an
right.
awesome Gibson Les Paul custom guitar that I'm totally jealous about. But anyway,
my
we won't
baby.
go there.
Yeah.
So, like with the whole background, your background in music, and I like to ask this question because I get so many variations of different answers with different musicians and artists that come in here that I interview. It's really cool to hear the backstory on it. So when did you figure out music, you were kind of in tune to that and it was something that you liked or something that you knew you wanted to do? How did you find all that out? What's the backstory on Stuart Alexander? Tell us a little
Musically,
bit about it.
probably like a lot of us, I had an older sister, for example. Well, I had an older brother too, but she was into music. And so she was picking, I'm really dating myself here, but she was listening to the, early British invasion bands.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, Jerry and the Pacemakers, and then
Oh
the
my
Beach Boys, and of
gosh.
course the Beatles.
Oh,
that
yeah, the Beatles.
They just blew me away, and on and on. So I was listening to stuff coming out of her room, basically out of her record player, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And my dad actually had some musical background when he was younger, and he played a little bit of guitar, but I never actually heard him play. He didn't. He never
Really?
played when I was growing up. But as a
Wow.
younger man, he did, and he had a love for music, so he'd listen to Chet Atkins and some of those other things.
Oh, yeah.
A mishmash of stuff, including some of these artists that I see on your wall here.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and my mom was a piano player, so there was some musical influence in the family. But as far as me being a musician, I didn't even think about it. And what finally, I wanted to be a drummer.
Oh,
I decided
cool.
I wanted to be a drummer.
Nice.
And it's a cliche. All guitarists wanted to really be drummers, and a lot of drummers
wanna
wanted to be guitarists.
I'm in
There's a lot
that
of truth in
same
that.
boat still.
Yeah. So, well, drums are expensive.
They are. I own a couple of kits myself.
Yes, you do, and those are nice ones too. But I was like, 11, 12 years old. I don't know how old I was, but I sure couldn't afford it. So I actually went to work. I was living in Mississippi at the time, Tupelo, Mississippi, and I actually went to work for a neighbor who owned a little farm outside of town, picking cucumbers,
Oh, that's the worst
trying to
job
make
ever.
money to buy a set of drums.
Yeah.
Right? That's the worst thing in the world. Don't ever pick cucumbers for a living.
No, don't.
Work all day and make $4 or $5.
Right.
So anyway, I said, well, at this rate, I'd do this for 30 years, and I might be able to get half of a kid. So that didn't work. And we wound up moving to California, and I was one of those strange kids that I used to go to summer school for something to do.
Oh.
Okay. And so I was only out there in Newark, California. It's the South Bay area. I was there for 2 years. Our family was. And the summer between my 8th and 9th grade years, so I was all of 13, I decided to go take 2 classes with the high school I was going to be going to the next year, my freshman year. This was 1969. And they had a beginning guitar course, and then I took typing. 2 skills which have served me well the rest of my
Yeah,
life.
they go together.
Absolutely. They've served me very, very well. I'm in the computer business today. So anyway, so my dad went to a pawn shop in Palo Alto, comes home with like a $13 acoustic piece of junk guitar, but it had strings and a
Nice, and
and
it made a
hole.
noise.
And it made a noise, and you could tune it.
Good.
So my brother, who's 2 years older than me, he had a little acoustic guitar, kind of a little nicer one than mine, but the 2 of us took that class. It was all of 3 weeks. And I learned, I think, 4 or 5 chords. That's it. I mean, here's a G, and here's a C, and here's a D.
The D.
And they teach all the bonehead songs you
Yeah.
don't want to learn. 16 tons,
Oh,
and
of
what
course.
do you get? Oh, God. Just shoot me now. But anyway, that was it. So that was the basis of, rock stardom, right? Anyway, that literally was it. That's the only quote unquote training I ever had. That was it.
3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah, learning just a couple chords and no notes, no nothing. I'm musically illiterate. I can't read a note of music. I don't even read tab. Okay, I don't. I play 100% with ease.
But
chord
hey, your
charts, of
ears
course.
are great, man.
Yeah, somebody hands you a lyric sheet with chords on it. Okay, you have to be a moron not to read that. That
Yeah,
I can
right.
do, but you know what I mean.
This is an A.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, write A over that, and I'm good. Okay.
Put a smiley face on it. It's done.
Yeah, it was really, really basic stuff. But I learned gradually just playing along. I'm a play along person. I'm not really a solo player at all. Okay, my philosophy on playing guitar is very, very simple. It's like good sex.
Exactly.
It's a whole lot better when you're not alone.
Exactly.
Okay, so I enjoy
and a whole
playing.
lot less painful.
And if I'm not playing with musicians, she's laughing. If I'm not playing with live musicians, which I didn't get to do for a lot of years, I played along with the radio. I played along with the stereo
Exactly.
systems.
We
Tapes,
all
records,
did
whatever.
that.
That's it. But you know what? Somebody pointed something out to me years later, and especially playing with your favorite radio station. That was great training.
Yes, it was.
And because you never knew what was going to come up. Radio back then,
Yeah.
you had no idea what was going to come up.
They didn't tell you.
And you had to turn on a dime, right? Mm-hmm. And you may have to slightly retune. Not everybody is in concert 440 hertz tuning, right?
Exactly.
So anyway, it was outstanding training, but I never thought about it that way. And then years later, somebody pointed something out to me one day. He says, "You know why you play pretty good?" And he said, "You know why you do?" I said, "Well, I don't know." He says, "Because you were always playing with pros."
Yeah. And you do that when you play along with the radio. And even us, man, we grew up doing the same thing, which, you talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
The people with the best ears, I don't care if you've been, trained in college. It doesn't matter. Growing up, if you could play with the radio, if you could just jump in and fall in with the band at what we call jam sessions,
Yep.
like real jam sessions.
That's right.
You got like 15 players and everybody takes their turn on their set, and you learn from everybody by listening, by watching. Man, I don't know if you remember, but Midnight Special.
Oh,
Do
yeah,
you
yeah,
remember
yeah.
that? Oh,
It was
it
my favorite show
drive
back
my
then.
folks
Yeah.
crazy because it obviously came on at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my little drumsticks in my hand and I'm just like tapping along, and I'm watching Casey and the Sunshine Band, and the next morning I'm driving everybody out of the house.
Yep.
But I mean, that's what makes good, musicians great. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to have 4 years of college. It's great if you're gonna do that thing. If you're gonna compose and do that stuff, then great. That training's wonderful. I've collegiately trained, but all my former years were just like yours. I sat there and recorded with the cassette tape, and then you put the tape over the end of the hole, so you could, if there was a cassette tape you really didn't like, you just tape all your favorite songs as they came on the radio.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
you spent your time playing with pros. So
Well, it
hey.
develops your timing as well, right?
does.
I mean, so you develop, because we all know in the studio, those guys
Oh,
aren't
yeah.
perfect. They're punching everything in. and
Exactly.
you may hear that one lick. They do it perfectly through the whole song. They
But
only
we
got
did
it in the
20
studio
times.
once, and then they just used it. But we know all that now. But at the time, you're like, these guys
No,
are amazing.
And they didn't do that either back in the day when they played live.
Yeah.
The way you heard a band live was the way you heard them.
Yeah, and the real older ones, yeah, that's absolutely
I
true.
mean,
Later, they got more
yeah.
cutesy with it, but yeah.
And
I mean,
a lot of them didn't have formal training either. They learned by experience
That's
and by
it.
the road and by their ear. And the greatest players on the planet that we, refer to now as legends and greats in the business.
Oh, yeah, you go listen to Joe Walsh, some early Joe Walsh.
yeah.
And I happen to love Joe Walsh.
I do too.
Love the guy. But you're going to hear mistakes.
Of course.
Okay,
We all do it.
Sometimes they're kind of glaring ones, but they left them in, and I love
Yeah,
that
I do
because
too.
he could, pull it off and
Nothing's
work around it.
perfect.
And if you're not a musician, you probably didn't catch it, but
Yeah.
he didn't care. He was playing from the heart. He was blasting away. He just went all, balls out, and they got it on tape. And he says, "We're keeping it."
Keep it.
I miss that.
I do too.
You don't see that anymore. You
No,
don't hear
and
that
it's
anymore.
it's almost like the whole music industry has told us you have to be perfect.
Yeah,
You have to have
yeah.
perfect pitch. Go back and listen to some of these people that sang and Tennessee Ernie Ford. I love his voice, but there's
Mm-hmm.
one note as a musician and a vocalist that stands out. You're like, oh, where's auto-tune?
Yeah.
That made it great. And,
Yeah.
the way you heard them recorded is the way you heard them live.
Mm-hmm.
Now you hear stuff recorded. When you go hear them live, you're like, oh, what the hell was that? Did
Yeah.
I just, I bought this record and it's one thing and
doesn't
then
sound anything like that.
no, and you're disappointed.
Yeah.
You're disappointed. So besides the radio and playing, along with the radio and all that stuff, how did you gravitate beyond that being like your early experiences?
Yeah, in terms of playing with people, it took a long time, actually. I mean, I played a couple things in high school, but I wound up going to the Air Force Academy to school in Colorado Springs.
Cool.
And that was a lifelong goal. I knew I wasn't going to be a professional musician. That's another important difference. I knew that wasn't going to be my career. It was a passion. It was, much more than a hobby.
Right.
But you know what I mean. So I was going to go fly jets for Uncle Sam.
There you go.
And I wound up, long story how, but I actually wound up in a band at the Air Force Academy, a bunch of short-haired cadets. And it wasn't until like my senior year, okay? And we were good.
Yeah.
We were good.
We
had a really good
military
band.
bands are awesome. I've
Yeah, it was
heard
just some
them.
guys I knew, a couple of my classmates, and in fact, our lead guitarist was a freshman. I was a senior. He was a freshman. We called him Doolies. Mm-hmm. And you weren't even supposed to fraternize, let alone be buddies or whatever. That guy was phenomenal. He came from Boston, Mass. And he played all the same clubs with the guys from Aerosmith in Boston. He knew them all. He was from that era.
Very cool.
So he had a heck of a musical background. Just could wail on a Les Paul. That guy was amazing. Jimmy Smith, I'll never forget him. And anyway, so we just toured around, even when we could. On weekends we played bars and clubs in Colorado Springs, Boulder, wherever. The college towns, Fort Collins. Other cadet squadrons that had big parties, and they'd have us come in and play kind of thing. So we actually played quite a bit. We had a pretty full dance card, believe it or not.
Nice.
But of all places, now
this
this was in the this was in the 70s when everybody had hair like longer than mine is now. I mean, it was all down to here.
But it was cool, and that was what you did.
Yeah, we were a bunch of buzzed head
We were
cadets.
more socialized back then,
Yeah.
as far as going to the dance scenes and playing live and going to watch a really great live band just wail away and kill it. And now they sit in front of their computer or their phone.
Yeah.
What the crap happened? you go dance with some anonymous drunk, Those were the days.
I'm telling you, there's nothing like it. You just have so much fun as a musician, or here's the plug for musicians: go out and support the local musicians.
Yes,
go support them.
play.
How are these guys? They're getting experience. They're going to be a bit raw here or there, but you're going to hear some killer moments. So you're not going to get sitting at home on the computer.
No, because you're going to
just
miss
killer
it.
stuff. Yeah, exactly.
They're going to miss it, and it's unscripted. A lot of stuff of what we do is unscripted live. I mean, you might have some things, songs, but I don't know about you, but I don't ever play the song the same way twice. I just don't. You play from the heart. You play from feeling, and what everybody else is grooving to. Because once that flow set on stage with that band or whoever you're playing with, you come up with some awesome stuff, and some of it I couldn't recreate even if I did video it.
That's right. Even if you had to, I know.
I know.
I know.
No, man, that's crazy.
Well, that's a great segue, because really by time the next really organized playing I did, because I wound up graduating and become a pilot, and I wound up in the Strategic Air Command, and I was married, and kids coming up. I wound up raising 7 kids, but so I was a busy guy. Life got in the way, and music was sort of a low priority, and that was still my hobby. And I'd plug it in, try to get in, if I was lucky, an hour a day. If I was very, very lucky. So it was kind of like that for a while, and then fast forward, I wound up leaving the military. We wound up moving to Raleigh, and we were going to this church in North Raleigh, and it was an evangelical church we found. And these guys had great music there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I liked it a lot, and they were really good. And I was there for like 2 years, and I wasn't about to let anybody know I played an instrument, because I just felt, like we were talking about earlier, that mindset, I'm not good enough. Mm-hmm. It's a lie from hell. Yes, you are.
Yes, you can.
Okay?
You can
but
play.
that's the way I felt. And they decided to have an open audition one night, and they kind of announced it at this church, pretty good-sized church. And they said, if you sing, play, whatever, come on up. It'll be Wednesday night, whatever. So I didn't even bring a guitar. I went as a vocalist. So I wanted to do some background vocals for them and stuff. So anyway, I was so nervous, I waited till after everybody else had gone. They were all done. They were all finished. And they said, well, all right, it was the praise and worship leader. He was a great guy, he and his wife. And he was up there at the keyboard, and they both sang beautifully. And he's like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, got a piece of music from the last week, and I say music, like we talked about. I don't read. It was just the lyrics with the chords written over it. But a song I knew. I said, start playing that and sing, and I'll show you what I do. He said, okay. So he starts playing and singing, and I start harmonizing with him.
Yeah.
I picked out tenor parts naturally.
Yeah.
Very almost automatically.
Yeah.
I don't have quite the range I used to have vocally because I'm old now. But anyway.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
I'm
So,
singing bass notes myself.
yeah. But anyway, after about 20, 30 seconds of that, he looked at her and she looked at him. He's like, I want you to do that again. He grabbed another one. He says, let's do this one. So I did the same thing. And he says, he stopped after like 10 seconds. Says, you're on stage starting Sunday. So
You're hired.
So you got the gig. So anyway, so I was doing it for a while, backing tenor vocals, and in a very short time became one of their lead tenors. And then this went on for some months. So by now people knew, all right, he's a singer.
Yeah. You established
and
that.
I never really was much of a singer publicly before, but I enjoyed it. Anyway, so they had like 4 or 5 teams that would rotate in and out. But one of their main lead guitar players, he knew I played. He had never heard me play, but he knew I played.
Oh.
And he comes to me and he works, a big company here, and they were going to put him out on the road or something for like a month. And he said, I'm going to be gone for a month. Will you fill in on guitar for me? I was like, dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
No, not in church. I'm a rock player, right? I'm a dyed-in-the-wool rock and roll player. I play both kinds of music, rock and roll, right?
That's it.
And I'm going to play in church.
Yeah.
Something would catch on fire, I guarantee it. I mean, I love the church and all that, but the kind of
Stairway
stuff
to
I
Heaven
play.
may not work.
Well,
for
I mean, like
altar call.
we were messing with tones before. Like if you hear something like this. In a church, it would shoot me, right?
Yeah, of course. We'll all go up in flames.
And I'm not kidding. I didn't know what to do. So I thought about it, and I said, yeah, all right, I'll do it. So I brought in this guitar, this amp, and at the time, I just another effects unit I had. And I just felt, well, everything's got to be really clean. So I had all these clean tones, and everything was, and I hated it. I just hated it. And I said, I did that one Sunday. And I said, this is not how this music should be played. I didn't tell him this. Just inside, I said, this is not how this music should be played. This is powerful music. It should be played powerfully, damn it all, and that's what I'm going to do. And so the next Sunday, I resolved I was going to do it my way, the way I'm hearing and hearing and here.
To do
and
it.
one of 2 things is going to happen. They're going to love it, or they're going to throw me out. Tar and feather me, ride me out of town on a rail, all right? Well, I didn't ask permission, nothing.
That's funny.
I just launched. Well, when it did, it just blew everybody's hair back. I mean, they loved it. They absolutely loved it. Thank God.
Of course.
They loved it because it did. Because I was hearing it in my head. I knew
What you needed to do.
there was some power behind it. Okay, give us some
But-
stones, right? That music would totally change, and it did. And they never went back. I mean, it completely revolutionized the music in that church overnight. So they never went back. And all of a sudden, everybody else is dirtying it up. And it was great. And so that was a lot of fun. I was there for 7 or 8 years. And then I wound up leaving that church, going to another one. And they used to tell the story about how I sat out there. Because by now, after hearing me play guitar, it's like, you can sing some other time. You just play guitar. So I played guitar on, like, out of their 5 worship teams on, I think, 4 of them. And then if I wasn't doing that, I was doing what you're doing. I'm mixing on the board. Okay, I was back in the soundboard.
Right.
Again, no training, by just ears. So I kept very busy. So I left there, went to another much, much larger church of almost 4,000 members.
Wow.
And their first Sunday there, I watched these guys, and I'm like, oh, my God. It was like a Broadway production. I mean, they're phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to be afraid this time.
Yeah.
All right,
He
I
gave
had
you-
some track record.
You had a little track record,
Had
and
some
then it
track record.
gives you a little bit of confidence, not overconfidence, but enough confidence. It's like, okay, I'm meant to do this. I can play. They welcomed me in to play. Next step.
Right, exactly. And I saw the same kind of challenge. They were very, very good, but I was hearing lots of clean tones.
Yeah, pretty.
Like, okay, here we go again, same song, second verse. So anyway, I introduced myself after the very first time I went there to the praise and worship leader. She was a wonderful lady from West Virginia. She's just a good old girl, talks like this.
Oh,
She's
yeah,
just
like
sweet as
me.
the day is long. I mean, I just loved her. I absolutely love that woman. Never saw her get mad, ever. Most even-tempered human being I've ever worked with. And could sing like a bird. But anyway, I introduced myself, and I said, well, I'm a lead guitarist at this other place. And she looked at me, she goes, you're a guitarist? And I said, yeah. She goes, well, you're just a gift from God himself, because we just found out today our lead guitar player is leaving.
Oh.
So you're just a gift for us. I was
Well,
like,
there you go.
Well, there you are. Well, who am I to argue with that? So anyway, I went in a couple days later and quote unquote auditioned with this just so she could hear me, and that lasted like 30 seconds. She's like, "You got the gig, right?" So within 2 or 3 weeks, I was on stage, and that was it. I was handling all their guitar duties. Now that was great training because most of the time, I had to play all the guitar parts. Okay, now. A lot of people get spoiled. They got the lead player, and then they got the rhythm player.
Yeah.
Well, you don't always have that luxury.
No, you don't.
And when you're that kid like we were, playing along with the radio or that record or that tape or later that CD, you had to do all the parts, didn't you? Mm-hmm. You ever learn song and later on you realize that wasn't one guitarist, it was 3?
It was.
And you go, oh my God, I was Superman. How did I do that?
Exactly. So, I mean, and you're exactly right on that. You know, it's one of the rehearsals I went to one time. It was funny. My sister was music director out at a local community college for 23 years. Uh-huh. So they needed whatever they needed, and she's like, I need you to come and play on the show. Well, I knew she did it. I didn't really care, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't going to do all that. So I ended up doing that and was there for several years. So when we went to rehearsal, I had learned everything by the CD, and all I'm doing is playing filler stuff on the keys. I don't know how I did it. I had the horns going, I had the bells going, I had everything. I had like 9 instruments on that piano. And she's like, how the crap did you do that? You said I needed to fill in all these parts that y'all missing. You split the keyboard into 4 parts and you just play.
You gave me an assignment. I did it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And then they were like, "That was kind of weird. I couldn't probably do it again now."
But that is great training, like we were talking about earlier. You know, when you're playing along with records or whatever, that's the only way I learned anything. Right. Okay, I had to learn how to kind of jump back and forth. I stayed away from lead for a long, long time, and I'm still not a flashy player at all. But
sometimes you don't have to be a flashy player to be a good, solid player. You know, you don't have to have all the bells and whistles. I mean, if it's great and it's solid and it's in those pockets and it doesn't have to be too showy, to me that's showy enough. Because it shows me that you got skill. I mean, I see these young kids, sometimes they come in and they've learned this one song. Fantabulously can play it forwards, backwards, can play it in all minors if you need them to. Mm-hmm. But then to play another one, it's like crink.
They're lost.
Really?
I've seen that so many times. You know, for example, in playing in a church, one of the things that was cool, and it's a great environment. No matter what your beliefs, I'm not trying to be preachy here. It happens to be my belief. You know, I'm an evangelical, but it was fabulous playing in that environment because you talk about turning on a dime, and the people that we had that were more classically trained in the sense of they had to have sheet music in front of them, they kind of struggled because, you know, you had to be able to
move,
literally turn on a dime and kind of, as they say, flow with the spirit sort of thing.
Right.
Well, that was natural for me. That's all I knew. That was easy. You just use these.
Use them right ears, man.
Play through the heart, and then pay attention to who you're playing with. Really pay attention.
And the flows there, man.
That's it.
That's the greatest feeling on the planet.
It's awesome.
You rip that sheet music away from them, and they're like,
oh,
Mary had a little.
It's like abject terror comes across their face.
Oh my gosh.
They curl up in the fetal position on the floor. I was like, you can do it. Yeah. So, you know, that's exactly what you want to do. It's like go out and fly by the seat of your pants, you know. And so anyway, I wound up doing that kind of stuff in those 2 churches for about 16 years. I left there some years ago. But so right now I'm not even in a band. I got one local band for a while, you know, rock band, and I went with a drummer friend of mine. He's a pretty very well-known drummer in the Raleigh area. And he's an old friend of mine, and he asked me one night, he calls up and says, what are you doing? It's a Wednesday night. And I said, well, nothing. And he says, well, you're going to come play guitar for me tonight at an open mic. I said,
awesome.
Oh, I am. Oh, yeah, really?
Great.
Really, am I? Oh,
Thank you for recruiting me.
And he says, yeah. And he says, we had actually played a little bit together at that previous church, but not much. And I said, we never rehearsed anything. What the heck are we going to go play? He says, oh, I know what you can do. Don't you worry about it.
Yeah.
Sure, right. So I walked into that trap. So anyway, but we had a blast. And I thought about it, I said, well, this will be a train wreck or this will be a blast. Well, It turned out to be a blast. It was a sports bar and pretty good sized one. And a little stage. And I set up. And the next thing you know, I'm the last minute invitee. There's the bass player and there's the drummer. And they look at me and go, well, what are we going to play?
Oh, great.
I was like, don't you dare.
Yeah.
They're like, all night long. And I wound up playing for 4 hours nonstop.
Oh my gosh.
Nonstop.
Blisters.
And they're rotating in bass players, they're rotating in drummers, and there are others are having beers. And the guy that brought me, he played one song, and he just leaned up against the bar the rest of the night, drinking beer, just laughing. Boy, you're making me look real good, you know. So
Great.
one of those bass players really liked my playing, so he asked me to join this band.
Yeah.
And, you know, come audition with it, which wasn't much of an audition. So, yeah, they liked what I did. So I went around. We toured around this area, you know, the whole Metroplex area for a while. But anyway, when I left that band, I really haven't done much since. You know, not that it was that long ago. But so right now, I'm not actually in a band. I'm not playing at any place regularly. But I do kind of miss it. I play it obviously at home.
Yeah,
you know,
well, and it's awesome though, because how fortunate and how cool it was just by, you know, happenstance that, you know, okay, here I have a phone. It has video recording capability.
Mm-hmm.
What brought that spark on to like, hey, I mean, was it on a whim or what? You know,
That's a great question. In fact, Dora and I were talking about, my wife and I were talking about that on the way up here. You know, what was the catalyst for that very first video? And I've been trying to rack my brain to remember. Not that it was that long ago, really, but I don't remember. It was just sort of an idea I had. And I had seen, you know, we've all seen instructional videos. I'm not a guitar teacher, and I don't have the qualifications to do that. But one of the things I figured is that guys like me who learned the way I did, which is the school of hard knocks,
exactly.
I had to learn a lot of things the hard way.
Yeah.
Teach myself.
Yeah, because
I didn't even go out and buy chord books. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I just taught myself. So I figured if I could share some of that knowledge and help jumpstart other players.
Right.
Okay, it's like you were saying, you know, they want to play, they want it to get it out, but we put too many hurdles. But you must learn your scales.
You must
And
do
if you
this.
don't learn your scales, you can't play.
You have
will
to
suck.
have 5 years of theory.
Yeah.
What? I couldn't even tell you. I mean, and I went to school. Like, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't remember all that
I
crap.
can't even pronounce them. I mean, my God, you know. So, anyway, I
Words
think
crap,
that was
yeah.
the catalyst for the first one. It's just this was a pretty cool little technique on how to take that what I later called the movable A bar chord
Right.
fingering and then extend it.
Right.
Okay, and so I shared that. And then one thing led to another. I mean, all these requests started coming in. I said, well, I think I've tapped into something here.
Yeah.
The approach is very down to earth, and I thank you for saying what you said. But
Yeah.
I just like to keep it very down to earth. It's certainly not technical.
Yeah.
And I don't presume a high level of knowledge, but I'm not talking down to them either.
Well, you're like I like to call you a motivational guitar pal. Because it's not even a tutor. It's like, okay, so this guy's in front of me talking about bar chords. I hate bar chords. So even me, I'm like, and I've been playing for years too. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to go get my acoustic guitar right now. And I'm going to sit here and I'm like, oh, he did that? Really? Well, my guitar instructor when I was 10 years old said to do this. Well, I'm not listening to you anymore. I'm listening to this guy because I can play along with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is easy. Oh, okay, this is better. You know, I didn't have to worry so much about, is your pinky finger?
Oh, I know. They
what?
made it so hard, right? So I said, okay, well, I'm going to
It's
take the
great
two.
to have technique, but my gosh, you
Yeah.
can technique them to death, and then it scares them to death. They're like, oh my God, I can't do this.
Well, then they get confused about where to put the technique, too.
Exactly.
You know, then they get anxiety. So, well, I learned this little trick. I don't approach the guitar that
Yeah.
way at all.
No.
I want to get something out from inside, right?
Right.
Or if nothing else, I want to sound as close to that record as I can.
And it's
you know,
an
to make it sound
extension
good.
of your emotion and what
Yeah.
you're feeling too. So whatever you're feeling inside, that's going to come across in your playing.
Right.
So,
So I
you
mean,
know-
with just a few little handfuls of little techniques I showed,
Right.
and two basic fingerings, literally two basic fingerings. And let me get one example here. That's not too loud for you, is it? That's
Nah.
a cleaner tone.
We're good.
Is that okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so if you went now, this is basically just two fingerings, right? Now that may sound complicated to somebody who's just listening, but it's not.
It's
That's
not, but
two
it's
basic
really
fingers.
cool. I mean, and it's really cool. And I don't understand sometimes what are these people hearing, because they've been auto tuned to death.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they have. They've
Yeah.
been auto tuned to death. They have been told countless times, "Oh, this is the way you do it, and if you don't do it this way, no," because everybody's style is different. Just play to what you're feeling and play, how you perceive music in your head, because everybody's ear and head is different.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
do what you do, and it's an extension of your feelings and your emotions, which is really cool that you just played that, because some people they hear and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's so hard, I can't do that." Yes, you can,
You just watched me do it, and look how easy it was. And basically 2 simple fingerings.
and that's it.
And it's just where you're placing them, and
Exactly, and
put some
how you make
emotion
it-
into it,
yeah.
put some heart into
Yeah.
it. To me, it's why even bother unless you're going to play from the heart. That's the number one rule.
Exactly.
Okay, you have to play from the heart. If not, you're wasting your time.
Yes, you
Okay,
are.
and it's going to sound like it too. I've seen, and you have, we all have, some amazing technical players, and I watch them and just. Oh yeah, what time is it?
Yeah,
I think I
exactly.
need to go do my nails or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like chewing on plastic. Okay, and then I can watch somebody else who maybe doesn't have half the technical skill,
But kill
and
him.
you just can't take your eyes off them.
You're zoned
Okay,
into
now I'm
him.
not going to name any famous people here because people think you're picking on them.
But we're not.
But there's some big names out there. I watch and that's how they strike me. I can take them for about 30 seconds.
And then I'm done.
I said, now you're sounding like a typewriter. It's just, that's not my thing. Then I can go listen to Angus Young from AC/DC, who's not a shredder per se. He doesn't.
But he's wonderful.
He wails. You can't take your eyes and ears off the guy.
I know.
mean, he just grabs a hold of you by the short and curlies. He doesn't let go.
No, it's
now,
cool.
I mean, so it's not about flashiness and it's not about dazzling. People don't want to be dazzled with your chops. I got news. I go play open mics. And people seem to really like what I do, okay? They've always kind of liked what I do because I think it's accessible to them.
It is.
I can hold a rhythm, the basics. But, then you get the other guys, they're going to show you how fast they are and how dexterous they are and, oh, dig me. And I see people walk away and they're going to
Yeah.
get a beer. They're not
whatever.
interested. They don't care.
They
Now,
and
I
they
admire
read it
the
through
skill.
Your,
Don't get me
the
wrong.
skill's great, but they read
Yeah.
it through your soul.
That's the thing. And now I know some will be hearing this, especially some of the younger guys, are going, well, that's just one of those old guys who's dissing on shredders. Far from it.
No.
I absolutely love it. I can't do it, but it doesn't mean I love it. I admire the skill, but it has to be used in the right place in songs. And then if that's all a song is,
Yeah.
it's boring.
Yeah, I get tired.
It's one of those things that's been used to death. You have to know when to use it. You listen to the really great guys, okay? Oh God, there's so many. I could just name them off. You know them all, and you go listen to the really superb players.
Yeah.
And they're not sitting there shredding 24,000 miles an hour all the time.
No, they're
they know
not.
when to bring that in, and they know when to slow down and do some pretty chording. And
Yep.
it's all about mix and match, develop your palate, and have some
Exactly.
taste. Gary Moore was the expert at that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
He was
yeah.
the man. I'm sorry. Okay,
He's
throw any
awesome.
other name out there you want. He was the man, best guitarist who ever lived,
He's awesome.
and he was a master at that. Yeah, he could fly over a fretboard like nobody, but he could also slow it down and make it cry, make it wail.
Yeah.
He could make you cry. He was just a master of dynamics. And that's what I aspire to, is to be able to have the ability to take emotions that you have inside you. Why else do we do this?
Exactly.
Because I
What's
want
the
to get
point?
chicks. Well, okay,
Yeah.
fine, but we're not 14 anymore, so.
Right, and that doesn't work anymore when you're, my age.
Yeah.
Okay.
or mine, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm old as dirt. So, so anyway, yeah, it's to express what you have in here, ultimately. And
Exactly.
it's got to come from the heart.
And everybody has their own style, which I find very interesting. And we've played with a lot of people, and we've done a lot of things over 30 years, and we still do. But even when we contract out musicians, we'll contract out musicians. There'll be some that I've never played with before, and then they're like, "Oh God, I don't ever want to play with them again." After you're done, and then there's some you're like, "We need to have you at the next blah blah blah," because it's like. They're emotional players. They play with their heart. They play with their soul. Their technique is great, and they know how to not overplay. Because I can't stand it when you're in a group. Well, maybe I just wanted to hear the keyboard one time, just once, okay? And then all of a sudden you got some dude that wants to do nothing but solos the whole night. And I'm like,
Exactly,
"Oh,
exactly. No,
But
that's a critical
it's
thing.
all technique, you know, and what you
And
do.
backing off and letting your other bandmates
Show
do their
off
thing.
a little bit.
If you're in a band, that word has a meaning.
It's like
it's
a
not
team.
you and your sidekicks. You're a band. You know, treat them with
A
respect.
group, a team, you know. Some people say there is an I in team. It's in, you know, in the a-hole, but no, not really. I'm sorry, you all got to work together like a well-oiled machine. Otherwise, it sounds off. You know, you go to some cafes and you're trying to eat, and they got this band in there playing, and they probably are playing for $50 or $100, and
If they're lucky.
yeah, and they're really good. I'm like, oh, and then there's nobody in the cafe listening to them. That really, really bugs me really
We've
bad.
all been there.
And then you go to another restaurant where you have a crappy band who probably wanted to get paid, and then you're like, how fast can I eat this? And go take my Tums and go home, you know.
For dessert, I'll take this and bring some earplugs too, please.
Please,
Yeah,
thank
please.
you. You know, my brainstem is bleeding. But, you know. So
Well, you know, you were talking earlier about when sometimes you play with people that you've never played with, and you go, it just kind of clicks.
Yeah.
I got a funny story about that.
Cool.
So, I was telling you, I played in these churches here
Yeah.
in town for 16 years or so. When the first one, they had this local is in Raleigh, North Carolina. They had this all-black gospel group come in.
Ooh.
Okay.
Nice.
And they were performing, and they were just amazing.
Of course.
Absolutely amazing. And so I was behind them, and I never played gospel. We were doing contemporary Christian stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought, well, this is kind of neat. So I didn't know what else to do, so I just did what I do, which is just hit notes here and there, and little backfills and little chords.
They got into it, didn't they?
And I just kind of, oh man, they were digging it, and they were turning around looking like, who's doing that? But it just sounded good. It just worked. And anyway, I was having fun with it. I hope they like it, but they did. They liked it a lot. So afterwards, they came over to me, and they were like, "Who are you?" Told them my name. I said, "We're gonna have a rehearsal. Well, here's where we rehearse at this church. Will you come over there and kind of go through rehearsal with us?" I said, "Well, yeah, I guess, but why?" Well, we play around a lot, you know, all over this region, and
cool.
we just love what you do, and we'd like you to come with us. You're kidding. And I said, no, it was great. I said, well, I've never played this stuff before. I said, you wouldn't know it. So anyway, so I went to one rehearsal with them, and I did this for months. I mean, it was just a side thing with them. These were just all free gigs, mainly at churches, but they were all black churches.
But that's great, man.
And it was great. I mean, I'd walked
You learned
in there.
a lot, too, and you
I
didn't
was the
even
only
know you were
white
gonna
face
learn.
as far as the eye could see. And, I mean, the spirit was in the building, man. It was great. They were wonderful, wonderful people. That's probably some of the most fun I ever had playing in my life.
Oh, yeah.
And then afterwards, after all the services, they take you down, they do all the big food spreads and everything.
Oh, gosh.
And they
you
fed
weigh
me to death.
500 pounds
They fed me to death. I mean, they said, no, you got to eat more. I said, ma'am, I can't eat any more fried chicken. I can't eat any more collard greens. I will die.
You'll hold your guitar 5 feet out in front of you because you can't close your zipper.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. No, but God, that was fun. And that's another piece of advice I give people is challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Get out of your comfort zone.
Do it.
And just go try it. You know, well, I don't know that style. So what? I've played behind jazz players before. I don't know the first thing about playing jazz guitar. Nothing. But I made it sound pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know a single jazz chord, really. You know, throw a little minor seventh here or there. You can fake it, but little lead fills. Get out of your comfort zone and just go try it. Because, again, if you trust these, trust your ears. I'm pointing on my ears here.
Yeah.
Like they can see me. You trust these ears. Develop that ear and trust them. Trust them. And then this inside, that heart. You get those two ears and that heart in concert, in sync and working.
They'll
Sky's
do
the
it.
limit. Absolutely.
They'll do it.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to the playing. So you just did a style where literally you did 2-finger things.
Yeah.
So play
Too basic.
play some things and explain to them how it's not complicated because people are obviously nervous about trying. Oh, and I always teach my students here, music students, and even my kids at home because I homeschool. I'm like, you're not allowed to say the word, I can't, because that means you won't and you won't try.
That's right.
So you don't know.
Yeah.
So just display some chord action here and just play some stuff for us. And
Well, I'll just give you another example.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, this is one of those things that's easier to show in a video, but I can, at least orally, I think I'll get the idea across.
And they can hear it.
They can hear it. Are we too loud there?
Now we're good.
Okay, so This is one. Let me kick off the delay at least. Clean up a little bit. So this is a technique I taught people in one of the videos. I called it the movable E.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a dumb name, but you know, it's stuck.
It works.
It works.
They understand what you're talking about. It's in layman's terms for them.
That's right. So I think everybody, if you're a guitar player and you're listening, you know a basic open E chord, right? Mm-hmm. So all this fingering is, and it's easy to find. I finally did put these up on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, just my name, and that's all I do is park my videos there, so it's easy to find. But anyway, it's taking a basic open E chord, and then by using this one basic bar chord fingering, that's all it's really doing is moving that E chord,
up and down.
open E, up and down the neck. So it's like, which by the way is the basis of almost all rock and roll,
Right?
Isn't it? Okay.
Yes, it is.
And then later,
Everybody knows that.
yeah, exactly right. And then you showed them how. Well, let me turn this off here. Yeah. So then, okay, so if you're doing an A, you lift one finger, it's an A minor, it's the middle finger. B minor, etc. Showed them that how to turn it into a seventh by just lifting the pinky finger.
Yep.
Sound familiar?
Yep.
Okay. That's all it is, lifting one simple finger. And then later it showed them where, okay, you take that basic, again, it's all just sliding it up, using the thumb and the forefinger is effectively a capo. It's a human capo.
There you
Just
go.
grabbing that puppy. And that's it. That's really what you're doing. And then if you drop all those fingers one string, now you're getting into minors. Okay? And these things apply all the way up and down the neck. It doesn't really matter. And then all of a sudden, when you learn those basic fingerings, those basic shapes, that one and the one that we call the movable A, I was doing some of that earlier. Same basic fingering.
Exactly.
That's one basic fingering, that's all I was doing.
Yep.
And so between those two, that movable E, all the way up and down the neck, minors,
Right.
sevenths, etc., and then the movable A chord. So anyway,
Yeah.
if you're going to take that and move it up the neck, that's another basic. You have to know that to play rock.
Yeah,
have
you
to.
do.
Rock or metal, you have to know that fingering, right? But it's exactly the same in every fret. It's exactly the same. And since we have the stubby fingers things, what if I want to do more like what I was doing here? But I'm up here, I can't reach that far.
Yeah, I can't either.
Yeah, I'm digitally challenged, right?
Yeah.
So you just take your index finger, you put it where the ring finger is in this chord. This happens to be a D, okay? And I put that there. Freed up those fingers. Now. The idea.
Yeah.
So just moving up and down, and you said something earlier, it was dead on. It's just muscle memory.
It's muscle memory. If you don't practice with your fingers and your hands and learn how to, you need to know your instrument for one thing. And this is true too, because I was complimenting you on, oh my God, you have a Gibson Les Paul custom. Oh my God, it's so cool. Look at the inlay.
Which I kind of got by accident. I told you the story.
And it's really cool. And I was like, I'm like, man, I bet the intonation on that is killer. And you said it's smooth like
It
butter.
plays like butter. Yeah.
Like butter.
Yeah.
So you need an instrument that's going to be complementary to your fingers and your hand, and know what your capabilities are of the pressure on those strings.
And it doesn't matter how much that guitar costs.
Right, it doesn't.
You can find a $300 guitar that
And
will sound
make it
better to
work.
you, feel better to you, and will speak to
True.
you more than that $3,500 guitar.
Exactly, because I've picked up some $3,500 dollar guitars, like you said, and you play them, you're like, oh, I think I broke the bone in the end of my finger.
Yeah.
Let's put that back on the shelf. And then you pick up one that's not so expensive, and you're like, well, it feels better. Every instrument is different. You know, you don't need, I mean, it's great to buy name brands. We've got name brand guitars. You got name brand guitars. But it's all on muscle memory, doing the same thing, and freaking practice, for God's sake.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't learn this crap in 20 minutes.
No.
This
No.
took us years.
Pick some of the simpler stuff. And you go back, a lot of the, I mean, I came up long time ago, but a lot of the 70s stuff, a lot of the 80s rock, it gets a slagging now. I don't know why, because that was some fantastic music
Yeah,
back
it
then. And a lot
was.
of it was pretty easy.
Yeah.
Okay, really pretty simple stuff. That's great stuff to go practice along with.
It is.
Okay.
I mean, you got 3 basic simple chords, and even like some of the cleaner sounds, some of the cleaner rock with some of the cleaner sounds. You were demonstrating that earlier. I mean, my gosh, that's just phenomenal at some of the things. And like, you have your pedal board, and not everybody can afford a pedal board, and you have something very nice. So explain, like
what this is?
Maybe somebody may just want to go buy a guitar. Oh, I'm going to try to learn to play lead because Stuart said I could play lead. I feel like I can play lead, and I have an acoustic. I can get a couple of chords or whatever. So then they go buy an electric guitar. What's the deal with the foot pedal? Because everybody has to ask the lead player, what's the deal with your foot pedal, man?
Yeah.
What's all these? You keep tapping on the floor like you're stomping roaches.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're doing the pedal dance, right? So that's a great topic. So before these integrated floor units came out, we were all buying the individual effects all the time. Some still do. That's just their
Yeah.
thing. And Lord knows there's enough of them on the market. But after a while, it gets kind of silly, because I've seen people with these pedal boards with like 30 pedals. Like,
You have
how
one,
in the hell do
2
you know
feet.
what's where?
I don't know.
And exactly, you're constantly jumping back. That's nonsense. So this happens to be, there's several good brands on the market, but I'm a Line 6 fan. This is a Line 6 Pod XT Live. It's by no means the newest model. The newest one is the HD 500X, which I happen to have, still brand new in the box. I've
But
had
you're
it for over a year,
comfortable.
and I haven't even taken it out of the box
But
yet.
this is your baby. I mean,
Well,
it
yeah.
knows you, and your foot knows what to do. And you know
Yeah,
what?
and it's very similar to it. It's its grandson, basically. But the thing I like about this is it's got pretty much everything. Their amp emulations are, I think, remarkably good. This one happens to be a Soldano 100-watt amp emulation.
Nice.
And there's all kinds of Marshalls, and you name a brand. They're in. There's High Watts, and there's,
But
Ampegs
each one
and-
has different sounds that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
want, depending on what you want to play, depending on the song.
It's like having about $25,000 to $30,000 worth of amplifiers, and probably another $4,000 to $5,000 in effects, because there's tons of effects in here.
Right.
You even see how they're labeled. There's stomp boxes, modulation, and delay. And then there's reverb, but there's all kinds of variations on them. And the stomp box I'm using is modeled on the Ibanez Tube Screamer, by the way. So so they've got a whole catalog of these things all programmed in here, modeled to the T. And then they have different cabs. So right now I'm playing through this amp here.
Your
playing
Fender.
My Fender Twin, which is way too loud for a room this size. But when I play on stage, 99% of the time, I was just going straight from this unit out to the board.
Yeah.
No amp at all.
Yeah.
And just, have cans on stage or earbuds or whatever for monitoring. So no amp, just a signal straight to the board. And so there's even cabinet emulations in there.
Yeah.
Do you want 4x10? Do you want 4x12? You want open back? You want closed back? On and on and on. And you go through and you can customize each of these patches. And it's like, I can't tell you how many there are now. There's dozens and
But
dozens
it's
of
all on
patches.
what
There's
you want.
banks of them. There's banks of
Yeah.
them. You just go up and down. And you can tweak, there's a bunch it comes with, but you can tweak those or create your own and puss around with them and save them. And what you figure out pretty quick. And by the way, so I saved a fortune. These things are only about, a brand new one's like $400 or $500.
That ain't bad.
That's it. I've seen guys spend that much on 2 pedals.
I know.
2 pedals.
You're
Or
like,
sometimes 1 pedal.
what?
You can have that this technology, the state-of-the-art version of this, for about $400 to $500, which is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And I defy you to tell me the difference. I don't care. I'll blindfold you. I'll put you out in a room, and you tell me what I'm not playing through a Soldano 100 watt through an Ibanez tube screamer with a closed back 4x12 Marshall cabinet.
They don't know.
You're not going to tell. So anyway, I kind of swear by those things, and it sure makes it easier to get around. You saw why I carried it in. Mm-hmm. One little bag, boom, boom, few cables, that's it. Okay? So that's been a mainstay. Again, cost savings.
Yeah.
With a lot more variety, and you can get the software with it. It's free stuff.
Yeah.
And you can go in and you can, on your computer, you can edit, you can download patches from their website that other people created. Said, oh, I'm looking for a good David Gilmour patch.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what they got. You know?
Yeah.
Let's try this one. You can kind of preview it and go, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Somebody probably spent 3 weeks tweaking that one just to death.
Yeah, they did.
So you can download it and you can save it in one of these banks. So you bank up or bank down. And you can save it anywhere you want. So now you have that.
Isn't technology awesome though? Because when you go back and you think and you go back and look at people who play guitar from the 40s,
mm-hmm.
it was whatever the crap you had
yeah.
on your buttons on your guitar. That
yeah.
was it.
Yeah.
And how you like you know, you got there's Bo Diddley and those people. I mean, he didn't use Crazy Mass and stuff not till later on.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like the Beatles. Did you see them stomping pedals? No. And half the time I wish they would have at least tuned.
Yeah.
It
does come in handy, yeah.
Yay. Could you like tune and not tune by your piano that's a half a fret off there, buddy?
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, they were awesome for what they did, and
mm-hmm.
they didn't need all that stuff, and they weren't flashy players.
No.
But now you have all these digital boxes, and my God, you could probably put, you know, a voice in there and make your guitar scream. Do you have one of those, by the way? Because I heard, and maybe this is where they have, I forgot the name of it, but I don't own one, obviously,
mm-hmm.
where you hook it around like your guitar and all this stuff, and it has a tube with the air, and you do all the voicings through your guitar. I heard that piano.
Yeah, voice tube. I don't have one. You've heard of, you know, Peter Frampton.
Yeah, they do that. But I heard it like will mess up your teeth with the electric. Is that true or not true?
That's not true.
I don't have one.
You don't
for
use
that
them
reason.
that much, really. I mean, but
you've
heard Joe Walsh use it.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
And Joe Walsh used to joke around and say, yeah, I taught Peter Frampton how to use it. Where's my royalties, Peter? You know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, he actually did. Got him using the talk box, voice box,
and
whatever you want to call them.
That's really
I've
cool.
never actually used one. I was talking with a friend recently, one of our guitar player friends on Facebook,
mm-hmm.
and he had just gotten one. And we were doing joint research for him on figuring out what's the best microphone to use with those things.
Right.
Because when you think about it, you've got this tube, and it's just a long plastic tube.
Yeah.
And it goes into a box, which plugs into your amp. And the tube itself is a pretty simple device.
Yeah.
And it goes up the mic stand, and then you kind of extend it out by the microphone, and you stick it in the side of your mouth, and you just kind of, move your mouth. You know, you kind of,
it's all air.
It's a neat effect. But you want to be careful because what kind of mic you're using, because that would sound kind of stupid if it's not just the right kind of mic.
Right.
Anyway, it's all the dynamics involved in that. So we were researching that. But he got it down pretty good. So I think that night he put up a video of using that thing, and it sounded great. So I always thought it was a cool novelty thing. Yeah. But if I bought one, what would I use it for? Maybe a couple songs. Maybe Rocky Mountain Way or something. You know, maybe 2 other songs, and then I don't think I'd probably ever use it.
Right.
So I wasn't really big on buying gear that I would only use once or twice. I even have an Evo. If you've ever seen an Evo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, got one of those. That's a cool toy to play with. I'll pull it out every now and then in a gig, but generally, if I buy something, it's something I really want to use a lot.
Right,
okay?
and it goes along with the genre of what you're playing. And some people, it's like they get all mixed up in the head. Like, do I try to play rock and roll, like what we call real rock and roll? Do we try to play real rock and roll? Do I play heavy metal? Do I play death metal? Do I play this? I'm like, play what you want.
Play what you want. Yeah.
Don't lock yourself in a box. You weren't born in a box, so don't put yourself in the box. Play what you want to play and create the sound that you want to create. And, you know, it's like one of the things, too, and you know, this is something crazy. Maybe you could explain this to the people who are listening. Knowing your chords, you don't have to know how to chart. You don't have to know how to read charts if you don't want to. How important is it to know your chords?
You need to know chords. You don't need to know probably as many as you think you need to know. But that's why I like those bar chords that I was showing you.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I literally, it's to the point where I can't play without them.
Yeah.
I'm literally crippled. I have to use them because I use them for everything. Because
in
they're
rock,
versatile.
you do.
And it's because it opens up so many chords very quickly and easily.
Yes.
Okay, so like I want you to go play a D minor seventh, you know, or D minor ninth, some weird chord. You go, I don't know, okay, and you have to go get a chord book, the Bell Bay chord book or something, and then I want you to learn how to do this. And it's a totally different kind of fingering, and it's weird. Well, these bar chords, it's not like that, and I demonstrated that in those videos. That's what people responded to. It's like, well, holy crap. If I
And
just
they're
learned,
scared to do it.
I just learned that shape and how to move it up and down the neck the way he just showed me.
True.
Now all of a sudden, all those things, I don't have to go learn all those individually. I'm learning them all at
one
once.
time.
And so now it's less focus on learning quote unquote a million chords because you now know a heck of a lot.
Right.
I'm all for knowledge. Don't ever let me give the wrong impression. But now you just opened up a lot of horizons. You know a lot of chords now by default because you know the simple structure.
Right.
If I lift that middle finger, it's a minor. If I do this over here, it's a seventh. If I drop it down here, it's a minor seventh, etc.
True.
And I show all that in the video. So now that can focus more on timing.
Yes.
Okay. Learning other more specialized chords for certain songs.
Right.
I don't learn a chord for the hell of it. If I'm going to learn a chord, I want to know I need to use it for a specific
Something else.
song.
Yeah.
That's the way I've always approached it. Maybe that's a little lazy of me, I don't know, but it served me well. If I need to learn a certain chord for a certain piece of music, like for example, some of the more challenging music I ever played was Trans-Siberian Orchestra stuff.
Oh, love that. We do their Christmas song. Well, one of their Christmas things. We played it at a Christmas show. Oh my gosh, it was absolutely just killer.
Well, my
Just
last
loved it.
church, they one upped that on us. We did that in 2004. I'll never forget it. And we played.
Isn't that on video?
No, 2003 first. Not this one. And
Oh, okay.
the head pastor there was a closet rocker. He loved my playing. Anyway, he comes walking into one of our rehearsals for the worship team there, and he's got the CD, and he says, "I want you to listen to this." And I said, "But who is it?" It was something he had burned off. It was Trans-Siberian, or I'd never heard of him. And he's like, "Trust me, just go listen to it." Well, I did, and it just changed my world. I mean, I was totally blown away. And he says, "I want to do that, Oh Come All Ye Faithful, Oh Holy Night medley, instrumental medley. I want to do it. I want you to play it on guitar." He says, "But I want to play the bass." He was actually an excellent bass player.
Cool.
And we'll have keys and the drums and I think another rhythm guitar. And we're going to do that for a special offering thing for Christmas.
Yeah.
And he says, "You got like this much time to learn it." I was like, I was terrified. Insert terrified look on face. So anyway, so I went off and I learned the lead part, the whole thing, and it was just a huge hit. So that was 2003. So the next year he says, "Okay, well, we're going to do the whole album."
Oh, wow.
This is their Christmas Eve and Other Stories CD. Okay, their first one, their most popular one,
Of course.
too. It's got all those big hits, Mad Russian's Christmas, Christmas Eve Sarajevo,
Yeah.
all those.
Oh, my gosh.
And they're very challenging, and it was like, okay, I had to arrange all the guitar parts. I don't read music.
Yeah.
We're like, we can go get the charts. Oh, yeah, we forgot stereo.
Yeah.
So anyway, I literally got all the other guitar players. We had
That's funny.
three electric guitar players. We had bass and an acoustic guitar player, and they would come to my house, and I would sit there in my living room with the home theater, and I had the CD in there, and I'd say, "All right, no instruments. So I want you to listen." And I'd start a song. I said, "Okay, this is me. This is you. You hear that part there? This is you." I said, "You better write this down because I'm not going to repeat it. I probably couldn't if I had to." All right? And they were like, "Yeah."
Yeah, we got
So
it.
they're like, "All right, and I'm doing this part, and this is you part. You hear that part there? That's you. That's you. All right, Jody, you're doing that. You're doing this." And it was stupid, but this is how we learned that whole bloody album. And so they would go off and learn what I told them they were going to do. And you want to be egalitarian about it, too.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this one, you're playing lead. I'm taking a break, and I'll play rhythm behind you, buddy.
Yeah.
I need a break sometime. So anyway, we do that, and we wound up doing that whole album 3 years in a row, and it was
Wow.
terrifying the first time because
Of
that was
course.
extremely challenging music.
Of
I mean,
course.
it's classical meets very heavy rock, okay, meets Christmas music.
I know, yeah.
And
so you
it
blend
works.
those together, and you're like, "What did
Like,
we just do?"
Santa Claus on acid. You
Yeah.
know, but it works. It just bloody well works. And so anyway, we blew people away with it. They didn't know what to expect. So then we did it again the next year, and then finally 2006 was the last time we did it. And that had to be one of the most rewarding
Yeah.
in terms of it was technical and it was difficult, and we had to have our stuff in one sock to pull it off. And I was really proud of those musicians there. They were no ringers. This was the praise and worship team of that church.
Yeah.
Okay, we had people come up to us and say, "I just saw them last night in Greensboro.
Yeah, at the
You were every
Coliseum."
bit as good, if not better, than they were." And I just look at
Without
it,
all the
yeah, right.
dancing lights. That's the only reason. I mean, I love TSO. Don't get me wrong, but I have seizure disorder, so I can't be around all
Oh,
these
the strobes and stuff. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, after the first song, I'd be on the floor flopping around like a fish. So let's
Well, if you
go.
notice, they've gotten away from the strobes the last
Yeah.
several years.
And
They
that may
still-
be a reason why.
I think
'cause
why.
people like Crissy can't do that.
No, I know. I was like, oh my God. Although I don't suffer from that disorder, I found it annoying as all
Yeah.
hell. I was like,
I'm trying to watch a player and you're blinding my retina and burning a hole through the back of my noggin. Oh,
you
hey.
started understanding how those old 1940s movie stars felt with the paparazzi with those super bright flash bulbs back then.
man.
And you had a million of them
Oh,
flashing in your face. You
and
know what it's
hot and the
like.
smoke. Woo,
That's it. Just go to a TSO concert. You knew what it was like. Well,
Yeah.
they kind of tamed that, but their shows are an experience.
They're awesome.
They're an experience. They're not just
Yeah.
a concert.
And they're awesome, man. I absolutely love watching anything that they have on YouTube. So, your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
How can these people find you to connect with you to, say somebody's listening and they're like, well, he makes it sound so easy. Well, it's not difficult. You just have to try.
Yeah. Okay. Well, simply do a search on my name, Stuart Alexander. It's Stuart. There's different ways of spelling Stuart, but it's Stuart Alexander. I don't know how many other channels would have that name. I have never bothered to look, but I
Yeah.
got it very easily, so maybe
Yeah.
I'm the only one. And it's nothing fancy. All it is where I've created these videos. Sometimes I'm doing a song, and I'm kind of evolving that. People like this, where instead of just doing a lesson, I'll tie the lesson to a song. You
Yeah.
probably saw the
did.
Boston song "Smokin'."
Yeah.
And that was tying together some previous stuff I'd shown them, but I wanted to show them how to do it in a real song.
Yeah.
Okay, and they loved it. Okay,
Yeah.
so I said, okay, then I did a Great White song, and now
Yeah.
so now I'm getting requests are coming in. Can you do this song? We want to see how you do that using this stuff. I was like, yeah. So now I've got a list of, I got to get to them.
Yeah.
But I've got a list now of songs, some Doobie Brothers stuff, some more Great White, whatever, that people specifically ask for. Some White Snake. You name
Yeah,
it.
of course.
Oh, of course. That people want to see because they want to see how I'm doing it. They said, I think it's coming together. I see how you're doing these chords. I've been practicing them. But I want to see them used in more songs.
Right.
See how you do it.
And used in a way that it was used back in the day when they played it.
Yeah, yeah.
Without all the big words and all the things that people don't understand anyway. If you don't,
Right.
if you're not trained, collegiately trained or anything like me, yeah, I can read charts, I can compose, and I can do all these things and sheet music and all that stuff. But I also play by ear, and I rely a lot on my ear to do those things.
That's
and,
good.
You don't need to be so technical about certain things. And your everyday Joe person who sits at home, there's a lot of home players. They're closet players. They won't get out there and do anything, but I can guarantee you they can nail every bit of it. But because they don't have a positive person like you talking to them, they have nothing but, just, I don't know if it's just they're timid or they're afraid or whatever. They need somebody, like you to help them build their confidence. And I just think the
Yeah.
YouTube videos are phenomenal. They're great. And it puts them probably back in a place and time where they remembered all that music.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
You weren't
Yeah.
eat up with videos of craziness all the time.
And that's exactly the people I'm trying to target. Because let's face it, how many of us are going to become rock stars? I mean,
nobody.
I'm not going to be. And
Nobody.
I'm in the supercomputing industry. That's what I do for a living.
Right.
That's my work. That's how I bring home the bacon. Okay, that's my day job. I'm in the supercomputing industry. Deal with the largest computers on the planet.
Yeah.
We sell them and stuff. Okay, so, a whole lot of people out there are like me. The music has a place in their life, but it's not their career. So
Right.
let's be realistic about it. You don't have to treat it like a career. So if you're going to make it fun, I'm just trying to help them make it more fun by
Right.
jump starting them, giving them that kick in the pants in a nice, easy way to take them to a whole new level. I don't get paid for this. I'm never going to take a dime for this. It's something I do to give back.
Right.
Because I wish somebody had been around when I was younger,
Yeah.
you know, when picking this stuff up, instead of me having to teach it to myself
Right.
the hard way.
Right.
Okay, now all of a sudden there's this little resource out there that they could tap into, watch it as many times as they want, okay,
And listen and go
save them
back and-
5, 6, 8, 9 years of hunt and peck.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they're making music faster.
Yeah.
Faster. That's
Of course.
really the purpose of it. No more, no less. I'm never going to dazzle you with my dazzling chops. You know? But it's solid stuff, and the songs are fun when I do those.
Yeah.
People seem to like them.
And the requested songs, I think, are interesting because you go from Boston to Whitesnake to Doobie Brothers to AC/DC, and then just some off the wall song, and I'm like, really? Somebody wants to know how to play that? Are you
Oh yeah.
serious?
Well, like the stuff like I used to play in church. You know, I got to ask for some of that. There's a lot of guitarists who play in church. Stuff like. That's the same basic structures that I was showing you earlier,
Yeah.
but a whole different sound, a whole different feel to it.
It is.
And so I'm going to do some of that for them as well. I'll try
Oh,
to
that'll
do,
be cool.
Yeah,
So
some
there's
full
more
songs.
videos coming.
More videos coming.
And
I
you've
never
had-
get them out fast enough.
I know, because I'm a friend with you on Facebook too, and I'm like, oh, there's another video, and it's kind of like a kid in a candy store. You're kind of like, oh, he just made a new video. Also, and then I feel like a dork again, like, okay, I'm back in the '80s trying to pick up stuff all over again. I'm like, why am I doing this?
Yes, but-
because I want to, and it's fun, and it should be. Music shouldn't be something that's a hassle. It should be something that is fun, something that you're driven to do, something that you want to do.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, and I'm glad you enjoy them too. And
Oh, we have
that
a good
again, that's also very gratifying. You know, the beginners, but you'd be surprised. There's some amazing guitar players on those
There
pages. I mean,
are.
oh my gosh.
I love looking at them all, and then they'll post.
Have you ever
stuff
watched
under
Panos
yours.
Sarvanitis from Greece?
Yes.
Oh my God. He's just an amazing guy.
That's
I call him my
crazy.
Greek brother. I mean, we've got to know each other from a distance, but he's probably the best single guitar player I've ever seen in my life.
That's
He can play
crazy.
anything. And so, yeah, people of that caliber. Then you've got, you know, your
But
schlubs
it's
like me.
like
Then you
a
got
really-
beginners.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool community.
It's a
though.
cool community,
It's like you've
yeah.
created a really cool, positive guitar community. No, I've not seen anything negative. Nobody slams anybody. It's all like, okay, we have our guitar pal here. And then we have our other buddies who are joining in.
Yeah.
Because who wants all the negative crap? You know, you get that from other pages if you want to.
Yep.
But there's something really cool that we can all do, and it gives you a feeling like, even if it's hard for you at first, you make them feel like, just keep on going at it. It took me, 100 years to do this one chord, but, you'll live longer than me. So that's the way it goes.
Well, that's a great point. There's some really good groups on them. There's quite a few of them on Facebook, and many of us, or even
Yeah,
all
tons.
of them, or a bunch of them. But the Guitar Players Collective, Guitar Aficionados. There's the Guitar Players on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's a huge page, and I'm drawing a blank on the names. There's so many of them now.
Right.
But so get into those groups and start picking those guys' brains, because there's some fantastic players.
There are.
And I learn from watching them. I try to watch a lot of their stuff too. But what's really cool is when even one of those more experienced guys
Yeah.
will send me a message or even an open post and say, hey, I learned from that lesson. I've been playing for 35 years, and I
Right.
learned from that lesson. Thank you for that.
And it's cool too
But
because
I even got the lead guitarist of, you know what, I was playing a little Tesla lick in one of
Oh,
my
yeah, I
videos, the
love
drop
that.
D video
Yeah,
I
the
did
drop
on
D,
how to
I saw that.
get the drop D very quickly. And I did a Tesla lick, and Frank Hannon
Yeah, I saw
commented
that.
on it. Yeah, Frank Hannon, the lead guitarist of Tesla, commented. He says, "Was that a Tesla lick? Really cool lesson, dude." And it was like the end of an 8.5 minute lesson, so he had to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that just blew me away. I was
Yeah.
like, "I'm not worthy."
Yeah.
I'm
But,
curious.
but it's cool because you're accessible, whereas they make being a celebrity and being an entertainer, you have your weird stalkers. Everybody does when you're in
Yeah.
entertainment and all that stuff. Even I do on Crissy radio show. There's just some people that you have to avoid, which is fine. But it's they're out there and they're out there surfing and they're watching and they're paying attention to making sure that, hey, yeah, okay, this guy's legit. You know, Stuart, he's a legit guy, and to get those posts and things. But you're accessible where these guys aren't.
Yeah,
You can't just call these guys on the phone or send them a Facebook request because they've already got 900,000,000 people. So you just follow them. You can't send them a friend request. Then you don't know what's legit and what's not. But they see you. They put the face to the name. They put the guitar to the music. And that's I think really what you tapped into something pretty
I
freaking
appreciate
cool.
that. That's really nice. And people can send me messages. And they do a lot. You know, we get every time I put up a video, we get more friend requests. That's
Yeah.
cool. And I can't accept all of them, but you know that's cool. But that's why. And people can feel free to look us up on Facebook. And I
Yeah.
say us. My wife and I share a page, as you know, because we're friends there, and that's perfectly okay. It's Stuart-Dora, Dora. That's my wife. Stuart-Dora Alexander. So we're very easy to find there. And so we have the videos there, and then we have them again on the YouTube page.
Which is under
Stuart Alexander. Simply Stuart Alexander. Yeah.
Stuart, right?
Stuart. That's correct.
Yeah, don't be typing in the wrong person, or you might, learn how to play the wooden spoons.
You'll find somebody that wants to charge $80 a year.
Yeah, for a lesson or whatever. Well,
Yep.
this has been an awesome show, and I think it's been really informational, and what a positive, really cool vibe going on learning how to play guitar. And, like I said before, if you haven't, gone to his page, go to his page, Stuart Alexander. Go on YouTube. You'll find all of his videos there. And, just connect with them the best way you can. I'm for sure there's an email or something if they want to connect with you, or just go subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's probably the easiest way.
Probably the easiest, yeah. You can always get messages to me there.
And that's very cool. And he checks them, and he's pretty accessible guy, to talk to. Down to earth. He'll tell you, yeah, this is great. No, this is not good. Hey, let's try something. You learn from each other that way.
Exactly.
But it's been absolutely awesome. And I'll leave you with the last word of what other advice would you like to give to people before we wrap this interview up?
Well, first, I want to thank you for having me here.
You're
It's been a blast.
We'll do it again.
You're a lot of
Next
fun to
time
talk
we'll
to.
bring a band.
And yes, and Dora's been very, very patient with me. But it's been a lot of fun. Very great talking with you and sharing these things. And again, keep it simple. Do it from the heart. Use your ears. Trust your ears, but more importantly, trust your heart.
True.
It's got to come from the heart, or it's not worth doing. It's not a cliche, people. That's really where all comes from. It has to be from the heart. If your heart's not in it, put it up.
That's
Go learn
right.
to play the clarinet or something.
Yeah.
Okay?
True.
So just keep that in mind, and don't be pushing yourself too hard. Be easier on yourselves. Take it easy. Pace yourselves. Watch these kinds of videos. Learn at your pace, nobody else's. It's your pace that matters.
True.
That's it.
And that is very, very cool and wise words from a wise, fantastic guitar player. I've enjoyed every little lick and every little thing, and I'll go home and watch more videos. It's like, hey, he did something cool today. These have a video on it. But anyway, you guys have been tuned in to the Crissy O Show on Jam City America Radio, jamcityamerica.net, and jamcityamerica.com. And be sure to tune in on Thursday mornings, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for your coffee morning wake up. So, as always, thank you, Stuart Alexander, for coming in, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
I like my coffee. It makes me feel alive. Yes, it does. First thing in the morning, I pour myself a cup. It helps me get myself going. It helps to wake me up. Do 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 do. Bum bum bum. Yeah. That's a cute little song.